What's up, everybody? It's your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog, and I'm coming today with a kind of a little bit of a controversial topic. The title of the video is called Class Matters: Why Black Middle Class Kids Fall into Poverty. This is based off the Atlantic article. We're going to kind of dissect it. I bought in Baltimore's finest, Charm City Buyers, and it's a Freedom Friday, so you know we do what we want on Freedom Friday. If you don't know who I am, I'm Erica Williams, the author of the Smartphone Millionaire book. Boom, how to invest in people, business, estate, and real estate. Business, real estate, and people from the palm of your hand. Again, Freedom Friday, y'all. You know how that rolls. So please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey guys, I am Kiera. I'm one half or one third, depending on if my daughter's in the room, of Charm City Buyers. We invest in real estate and in communities here in Baltimore, Maryland.
All right. So look, everybody, we're going to show the article, but as you come into the chat, you know how we love to do. Drop your city and state and hit the like button so that we can fight Skynet together. All right, everybody. So let me go ahead and switch it over for you to see the screen. All right, everybody. So this is the article out of the Atlantic. How Black middle class kids become poor adults. Basically, it says they're more than likely to, then their white counterparts to slip back into poverty. And the reason I'm making sure you put your cities and states in because it gives me an idea of who I'm talking to and where you're located. But here's just the overview. I'm not going to read it to you. You guys aren't babies. I put the link in the comment section. But of course, it talks about unemployment, the wealth gap, American income, by race. And a lot of this, I would love for you guys to look over it. I'm going to give it my take on it from my perspective as a military, I would say a solidly middle class, almost upper middle class military kid due to the combination of my family background and my family's position in Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Because I think it's important to give context, right? If I give you my opinion, you're like, where are you getting this opinion from? And I think that's important. So definitely check this article out. And, I brought on Kiera because I think it's important to have other people's view on this as well. But that's the article we're referencing this whole time. Now, my 4 pillars, Glendon Cameron even did a video on this earlier today, so definitely check his video out. Income, education, upward mobility, and access to wealth. Now, I might give them some different names, but those are 4 is the key, right? But I would even put under the 3, because we want to make a clear definition of what I think is middle class. I would put neighborhood in this conversation. I'd put after school participation and tutoring. Now, many people say, what do those 3 have anything to do with being middle class? And this is where I'll reference it. I'm out of Fayetteville, Fort Bragg. Mom, military, long time, had a giant 2-story, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-car garage on the back of a lake. Literally, her house sits on a lake in a neighborhood. And we would sometimes have neighbors be like, well, how is she affording to live here? And my mom would kind of jokingly say, if they can't figure out a budget between 2 people, that's not my problem, right? Like, who cares what they think? For a long time, people kind of made fun of my mom for having an older Camry, and then yet they're 2 parents in a home struggling across the street, and my mom is easily sitting here owning 3 cars. We go on vacations. I mean, just to give you guys a context, like we literally went on Carnival cruises due to one family member working with Carnival as a corporate family vacation every year since I was 11 years old.
Right.
Without that, and not just us 4. I'm talking about 35 family members deep all at the same time. And people would be like, "How is your whole family? Are you all teachers? Are you all like the same career?" And I'd be like, "No, this is a scheduled thing every single year." And then on top of that, I was in all AP classes. I went to a private Christian school at one point. I had issues with bullying at different schools. And so I got put in a private Christian school. I had golf lessons. I had tennis lessons. Basically, I will say this. At the end of the day, why did I put neighborhood in the conversation? One of the neighborhoods we lived in before we moved to the final neighborhood, my sister and brother still had connections to people over there. And people would be like, why are y'all hanging out over here? As we got older and older, they'd be like, why are you even hanging out with us? Because even as kids, you know something, the gap is there. I would say this, like, just to kind of round it off, not to take it too long, but I went to college. As I left, pledged to white sorority. We don't have to go into that, Delta Zeta, whatever. Turtle. You know what I'm talking about. If you know white sororities, pink with a turtle, just do a guess. The school, at the end of that, I had several black friends and several white friends who parents, they bought their first home leaving college. They had a job offer letter. They went to Raleigh, North Carolina, $55 townhouse, $3,000 down. The people who were not middle class, let's just be honest, they moved home with their parents or they were the roommates of other people. And that's when I realized class matters. It really changes the trajectory of where you are going in life. To say all that, I just want to hear Kiera a little bit expound on what her definition of middle class is, because that's just my background, and I just want to give that the clearance.
Right. So, I mean, what is middle class to me? So, I also grew up in a household that was middle to upper middle class, right? So that's kind of my background from that perspective. To me, middle class so I definitely define it differently as you. I definitely define it more so as more so about access, and maybe I might be saying the same thing in different words, but around access and your ability to not only take care of what you need to, but maybe do some things that you don't, right? You can take care of some wants, you can go shopping every once in a while, what have you. I think that in society and culture today, there's probably a lot of people who think they're middle class but aren't, because they're kind of playing the game and spending a whole lot of time trying to do it for the gram. But to me, middle class, I think is, I think I like my answer of access. It's the level of access that you have to resources. And I do understand from a neighborhood perspective, your school systems, like those types of things, I think help to define middle class beyond just the numbers of what your salary and income is.
Right. And you're from the north. You're from Pennsylvania. You're north. So
yeah, I'm from Pennsylvania.
So I think location matters as well. A lot of people, well, Erica, I lived in this neighborhood, but I'm in New York, or I'm in Baltimore, or I'm in but that's why I gave a list. It's income, education, upward mobility, access to wealth, and the three I love putting on it is neighborhood, after school participation, and touring. Yeah. Now, why did I put those three? Because when I started talking to teachers, and I started seeing single parent moms. My mom was divorced, but then got remarried, so that really wasn't her lane. When I would talk to them, we can't get to after school stuff. Mom's working. There's no one to pick him up. Can we carpool? Can we do all this strategizing to get this child to participate in after school activities? Mm-hmm. Tutoring, which I'm a little bit older, but tutoring was like $100, and people would be like, I can't afford a tutor. And so when you hear a child stay back a grade, you're like, why didn't you get a tutor? Another thing of that is neighborhood. Neighborhood dictates so much. And this is the perspective I'm moving. Your child spends 8 hours a day immersed with other kids outside of your direct conversation. And at some point from ages about 11 to 17, they pretty much listen to their friends all day and all night. They're trying to adjust to these neighborhoods. They're trying to get in this climate. Again, I told you guys, we lived in a rough spot, then we moved to a perfect neighborhood, and people still could not, my little sister still had these friends that my mom was like, no, I will not let you go hang out with them. Like, where they're going, you're not going. And I remember one of my sister's friends, sadly, their mother never finished 8th grade. Then her first 3 children didn't finish high school. My sister's friends were the first kids in that family to finish high school and go off to the military quickly, right? And I understand my mom's position now as an adult, her not wanting my sister to hang out with them, because they were literally on a program to let them come to our school. to come. Like they literally had to get in the car, drive across town, pal up their siblings because of the voucher program and drive across town.
Right.
So the key of what I'm trying to get you guys to see is, if it wasn't for that voucher program, those kids in that family, I don't know if they would have finished high school.
Right.
I don't know if they would have had that.
So this is just a really interesting conversation, not only because of like where I'm from in PA and just kind of the culture there, but also being a parent, right? So I'm like completely reflective. So if you see me looking off into the distance, it's because I'm thinking. But I think, so there's a lot of things like for me. So my daughter does go to a pretty darn good school here in Maryland that I'm not going to share.
No, you don't. No private information.
Not at all. But she does go to a pretty good school. And
is it private or public?
It is a independent school, as we call it here in Baltimore.
What does that mean?
It's private.
Okay.
So with her going to that school and being in that environment, we actually do push to have her interact with people outside of that sphere for a lot of different reasons, and that's like a completely separate conversation.
Sure.
But in terms of like this whole middle class, like why are kids starting and living in middle class, growing up and going back and, kind of taking a step back as an adult and not in the middle class, I think it has a lot to do with, one, I think there's an issue with posing, like I said before, right? Like you think you're middle class, you're growing up middle class, and your parents are kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul to buy you Jordans. And as an adult, you quickly fall into those same parameters because you usually follow in the same path has been laid for you. So if your parents were kind of doing what they need to do, going to their 9-to-5, robbing Peter, pay Paul, if you try to do that same thing today, I think it's challenging to live the same lives as our parents and have that same level of lifestyle.
80s and 90s.
Yeah. Like if you think about a lot of our parents or grandparents or whatever, depending on your age bracket, they were all working on, an assembly line somewhere, and that was good money. But now today you can't really do that and still damn near have a living wage. Right. So I think that might be part of it too, like technology and change in just culture, that you can't just follow your parents' footsteps now and end up at the same place because of the fact that the world's different.
Oh, for sure. And I told you guys, I'm going to apply it to my military perspective just to kind of give that, like, if you look at any military town, the average African-American in military towns or surrounding veterans do financially better than all the other Black people in town. Now, I'll preface this by, my mom makes 6 figures in retirement. Now, many people are like, oh, I don't know why she stayed in the Army so long. Okay, let's just dissect that part. Many of the Black military families I know stayed in some of the best neighborhoods, their parents, because what? You had the VA loan, no money down. Their parents went to school through the process. Then also on the flip side, when I went to college, because my mom was in Kuwait, well, Iraq, but Kuwait, we'll say that for sake of argument, I had like all access to all these grants and different loans and different opportunities. And I worked in a financial aid office. Now, with that being said, I was doing something different. The bulk of people who are recruited by the military are military kids, are kids of the military, because they know the lifestyle, they know the kind of process and where you're going to travel. Like there's kids who particularly pick certain careers so they can go live overseas like their grandma and grandpa did. Like just to give reference, my grandparents were both in Japan in the military service. Okay, then my dad and my uncle, and like I have almost every single family member serve, and then come out, the GI Bill is giving you $1,500 a month to go to school. Then you got a VA loan. Most people get the home before they get out. And then, the stability of the income. Now let's even flip it to retirement. She's retired. All her friends are, I got to find a job, a GS job or a government job. They're trying to pull a Kendra, right? They're trying to do that kind of job. And she's sitting there with 6 figures. That's not typical. That's not typical, right? So what you have to tell people is the choices you make along the way are vital. are vital. I have friends right now who, I'm gonna give a prime example. It's a young Black guy, and his wife, she's Black too. When we graduated from school, homegirl was a nurse, right? He didn't get into, he didn't get into football. That was his big thing. He wanted to get into football, didn't make it, and he went to National Guard Reserve. So his job career has been shaky over the years. I'm just gonna be honest. They don't watch this, so they don't usually watch it, so I ain't worried about it. But the National Guard is what got them in their home. So no matter whatever you say about a young Black man's job career over these years in Raleigh, it's the military that got him, that got him in the home. It got him in the home. And it kept them over like they paid off their debt. They went Dave Ramsey style. But when you got like a $55,000, condo, what's a townhouse? It's like the straight up 3 floors in Raleigh, and paid off cars and degrees, you're there. You are there. You are middle class. And I think what we're talking about is a lot of people have degrees. They have a degree. Like, hey, my mom and daddy sent me to school. Sure. So I have a degree. So I'm middle class. That's ignoring what? The income and the upward mobility. Like, I don't care if you got a degree. If I see you 4 years later and you're still working at a job that pays $35,000 a year and you didn't get a home, all you have is your car to stunt on the gram.
Your degrees. No, you're right. And nowadays too, because you're right, having a college degree, having parents with a college degree, but now you go to college and you leave with a whole bunch of debt. And so not only do you get your degree and have a huge bill that comes along with it, you're also not getting, the income. There's not the same level of job. Like, it's kind of the whole conversation all mashed into one. Like, just having a degree is no longer enough. And it's just so much easier to fall into and below the poverty level than it was, at least from a cultural perspective, than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Well, even now, the kids that I went to school with who are like, oh, I'm not going into the military. Oh, even my mom and her friends would be like, we worked so hard so you can go to school. Well, okay, you just took away my ability to do what? Get a VA loan. You just took away my opportunity to do what? Get paid to go to school. Like, they missed the whole point that what got them there, they don't want me to do, because they're like, you should do something different. So now you're asking these kids to do a whole new lifestyle outside what their parents can do. And even when I applied to college, that's the funny part. I applied to college. No one in my family helped me. They're like, well, you're so smart. We thought you got it all. We thought you did it by yourself. I mean, here's a joke. My family hates when I tell this, but when I graduated from high school, I don't know, stand outside waiting to take pictures. My family had already gone to the house for the cookout. They were like, we didn't need to take pictures. We knew you were graduating. There's only one of your cousins we didn't know was going to graduate. Oh, our family was like, why are we celebrating high school? We go to the college one. And so it sets the bar high, and I think people really are blown away at what the definition of being middle class is, because the degree is not middle class. The income is. Yeah. It's just like, and even
not even just income sometimes, like now it's like, what, like after you pay, like what do you have left? Like, it's about what you have left after you get your income, pay all your bills. Do you have something left? I think that's like the lowest bar set for.
It's low. The bar is low.
You make more than what you spend every month. I mean, it's a pretty low bar, but with kids like that, I think that thing is like, what I think is going to be really, really interesting, and this is just kind of like where I keep seeing things going with the conversation about wealth and financial literacy and all those things. I think the next generation is going to be mind-boggling. And I think that's because I think there's more people having these types of conversations. Like, how do you change the trajectory of your legacy? And I think that conversation is happening on so many different levels. It's not just kind of the elite being elitist, but having conversations all across the board. And as we, as parents, as adults, continue to have those conversations, it impacts and trickles down to our kids. Our kids are in the room, right? We're having these conversations. I think a lot more people now are having these conversations at the dinner table versus 10, 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, having conversation at the dinner table about, working at GM for 35 years, right? Like, I think the conversations are changing, and that's also going to change the trajectory of the kids. Like, I mean, we might be.
Well, you're showing her. You're showing her.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
difference. You're showing her. Some people have parents who didn't show them anything.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm not the only one to like not only show her, but also kind of pull her along and give her exposure to different things. I think the culture shift right now is that a lot of people are having these conversations, which can change how things look going forward.
Oh, for sure. So two great points. 100,000 Black African American families are homeschooling now, like added to the list last year. Okay, so then yeah, it's a movement, right? So then you have 13% stay-at-home wives increase over the past decade, and Black women are included in that. Now, I don't want to mess your name up, but she said, I got the book Disintegration of Black America. This book was a life changer for me. I got this book about 4 years ago and was like, and here's the layers to this. Mm-hmm. My roommate who lived in DC was friends with the son of Eugene Robinson. So I'm talking about this book, and this white girl's like, yes, that's my friend. That's his dad. I met his dad. Like, and that's how. And I'm not doing this to be like, oh, I'm elitist. I'm so much higher class than you. But that's how I knew, Erica, you are in a upper class because you know somebody via 2 degrees separation that other people don't.
Oh, for sure. I went to an elitist college, 100%. A million
I believe it. Oh, for sure. And so it's just like, that's why I'm adding these layers to it, because access to wealth is in that 4, right? So access to wealth. What do I mean by that? I got to keep telling you guys this story. I volunteered with United Way, and it was a big push. And it'd be like, they'd be always trying to recruit Black people and Hispanic people to come so they can learn how to be on boards. So the board, it was called Multicultural Leadership Development Board at United Way. You guys can look this up for yourselves. But it essentially teaches you how to be on boards, because boards need what? Diversity, youth. You know, most people on boards are old, 80-year-old white dudes, and they know what's going down in your town before you do. So I'm here in Austin, Texas, and all of a sudden all these changes are being made where Apple was coming. Well, who knew Apple was coming? People on those boards, right? And that's how you have the same people, the same money in the same hands over and over and over. Because when you ask some African-American people, hey, you should go to this class at United Way, you have to go for free on Wednesdays for like 6 months, you know, like, what is it? 1, 2, 3. It's like 8 classes, so 2 months. People will look at me like, oh, 2 months every Wednesday? I'm like, you're gonna be on a board. You're gonna have access to everything and everything. You're gonna be on like and they'd be like, I don't know. And they would ask Black business owners, and even they would be like, yo, my time is tight. And so that's why it'd be so funny to me, because the keys to access, they're trying to give it away. And we keep going like, well, we ain't got time for that. And that's a part. Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Charles will be put lazy. But that's the thing. Like, even now, I'm here in Austin. I went up to Georgetown to join their Chamber of Commerce because 1, it was smaller. 2, I wanted to get some farmland out there and turn it to some recreational land. But
you don't get some cows?
Girl, I'm leasing that land out. Like, I'll tell you this way. If you're a minority and you want to get into any kind of farming, they're giving out like $2-3 million at like less than 1% interest, because they're trying to right the wrongs of the 1980s, my family included, who got gypped on farm loans and money. But it all plays into when you talk to people about these things. When you do talk to Black people who could do it, they don't want to do it. Right. And again, this is where we talk about access and trying to go up. A lot of people.
I think exposure has a big thing to do with that too. Like, not only people always say what they don't want to do, but usually it's because they don't quite. Sorry, I don't got my seatbelt on. My car's howling at me. I'm gonna turn it off.
Okay, ma'am, put your seatbelt on before anything.
No, I'm stopping. I just had to drive up to Michaela's. We talking about kids. I'm just driving to the bus stop. The car's not even on no more. I think exposure is a big part of that, because a lot of people are talking about what they don't want to do because they don't understand it. It's the same thing about people saying about you telling someone to buy the house next door, and they're like, I'm not doing that. It's because they don't know no better, because they don't know. They haven't been exposed to the opportunity. They haven't been exposed to what that could potentially mean. We were talking about this earlier. I grew up around farmland all over the place, and I never even halfway thought until this conversation about buying no damn farm. And I grew up around it. So that's like, it's exposure. It's interesting.
Charles Ogilvie is messing with you. He talking about we want to hear, were her parents investors?
No, my parents were not investors.
Uh-uh.
No, my parents were not investors. They were, my parents worked. They worked jobs. They worked 9 to 5 jobs, both of them.
So my whole point is, did the thought come into your head at the private school you were at? That's what I'm saying. The environment you were around.
No, I didn't. Michaela go to private school. I went to public school.
The college part.
College? What? Investing in real estate?
Yeah, the college.
No, I was a nerd. So I started talking about investing in real estate, no lie, around 11 or 12 years old. And that was because we would be driving around in our neighborhood that was primarily a ton of farmland and all that kind of stuff. And there's like a small town, but slowly I saw like things change. I saw conversations change around the town. They started to sell farmland and build housing developments. And watching that happen as a young kid, we used to drive around and I'm like, Mommy, we should buy that house and renovate it because it's vacant. And Mom was like, what the girl, what are you talking about? And so I used to say that and see that and kind of have that eye. And that was around the same time where like HGTV started and all those types of things that kind of put fuel to the fire. Side note, I also definitely told my mom to buy Google when that went IPO and Amazon. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I was just really smart and good at stuff. But yeah, no, that was where I started. It wasn't my parents. It was kind of just exposure and the fact that there was never a time when anyone told me what I couldn't do, right? My parents, my grandparents, anything. They always just kind of like Kiara gonna do what she does. And so there wasn't really much limitation. And then in college, I did do my last semester, senior year. My whole senior year was like a wash. My first semester, I lived in London. My second semester, I did like 4 independent studies.
Okay, you guys, wait, back that up. She went to overseas. Where'd you go? Say it again.
London. I was in London.
You was in London.
I went to London for a semester and came back and did independent studies where and one of them was on real estate.
There's pictures of her and Khalil. And he's got dreadlocks overseas in Italy. And I was like, this is the epitome of Black people stunting for the gram before the gram was even available for you to stunt on.
No, but even then when he came out, because he had already graduated, but he had money in the bank because he saved and was able to within a year, 2 years of that picture, we had our first property.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. Marriage also helped that. And see, I'm staying away from the whole single mom thing, but I think marriage helps that story. All the Black people I know from school that got married, like my white friends, at 30, they had the townhouse and then they moved to their next house. And they had, great cars, and a lot of the struggle stories you hear people who leave college and got roommates didn't even happen. Okay.
but we didn't when we bought our first one, we weren't married.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't married.
Y'all was illegally shacking. Mm-hmm.
We had started to illegally shack. But we both had built like some solid nest eggs. I graduated, moved to Connecticut to get a really good job, got a roommate, saved. He moved home with his parents, saved. We both had our own money. And we decided that we wanted to come together and make something happen. So yes, that is definitely a helpful part. Having someone else to do it with you for sure.
Sure.
But we're also very much, we would have been able to do something individually. You know what I mean? Like for him and I know this conversation is not about marriage, but I think it's important that we were not only just thinking about how much we liked each other, how much we loved each other, she cute, he cute, whatever, we gonna make cute babies. It wasn't a whole lot of that. It was like, here's what I'm trying to do, here's what you're trying to do. Like, what do we bring to the table and how do we make this contract, this business relationship, which marriage is a business, anybody tells you differently is a lie. How do we make this happen with all the other great stuff that comes with it? And so we were able to kind of take these two forces, honestly, Khalil and I, and put that together and make something really dope happen because of it. But anyway, that's a whole nother show.
Well, the reason I bring up marriage is the fact is a lot of people downplay it, but you got to realize there's women who are like, I'm waiting to buy my house till I meet my husband, or I'm waiting to get serious about my finances till I get my husband.
Yeah,
a lot of people in Austin, Texas. I know girls who all of a sudden they got real serious and got job promotions and changed jobs at 29, 30. And I go, well, what made you change? I realized I wasn't married and I need to make more money and I need to be able to take care of myself. And so, so it's one of those things where even though we try to play like it's not significant, it's very significant when you see, on average, I think the African-American women get married at 32 to 35. It's like first time marriages, high numbers. And white girls on average is like 25 to 27, even though the numbers moved around a little bit. But think about that. You got somebody else, your white friends may be 32, they have a house together, they done paid their cars down together, they done had two income for 6-7 years. People not listening to that part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Yeah.
It definitely helps. And I think it's good that people are waiting to get married a little bit. Like people are just coming together, getting themselves together, and then, or at least waiting to have kids so you can get yourself together. But again, it's like a whole nother thing. But actually it kind of connects though, because of the fact that people are waiting to have kids longer. I think it gives that much stronger of a financial foundation if you're, doing what you should be doing.
If you're on it, if you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah, if you're doing what you should be doing. And then that kind of springboards the kid or can to give them the exposure and all those things, get them the neighborhood, the exposure, the after school activities, all that kind of stuff, because you're on good financial footing.
Well, one prime example is I think it's isolating sometimes. Being a Black middle class children, and when they go to school and they go to places, they don't have that struggle story. And prime example is 21 Savage up there. They're like, oh, he tried to fit in so hard. Why do we have kids doing that? Right. His father was a doctor. So he's doing all this to do what? Fit in? So what I try to get people to see is, trying to be careful. I'm always very careful here on the class conversations.
It's Freedom Friday.
It's Freedom Friday. No, well, the problem what I'm seeing is, I remember when I was at school, we had a guy in class, he was saying, our teacher brought up about interracial marriage. And he was saying, he's like, yeah, my parents are absolutely devastated that I'm marrying this white girl. And everybody in class is like, how dare them, And he said, you have to understand, my father's a doctor. The white girl I'm marrying, her parents live in a trailer. And now, I wanted to say something because I was in the back laughing, but I didn't. But he was like, when he told his roommate that his parents were devastated, the white roommate couldn't understand. He's like, why? And it was twofold. It was like, she's from a lower class. Two, you're second generation they sent to college. This is not the ideal person they thought you were going to marry. And this is why I bring up the neighborhood stuff. When you start putting your kids in particular neighborhoods, you have to think about, my kid is probably going to interact with these type of children all day long, all night long. Who do I want my children interacting with? Right. That was not their dream person. and for her parents to even have any kind of, like, you were marrying up and be glad, right?
So still mad, to be honest.
Oh, they probably still work. They probably still work. Charles put, too many of us start out in the middle and fall behind because we're unwilling to do the things our parents did to get what they got.
So I would definitely say that for upper middle class, wealthy, like with upper middle class, for sure. I think you might get a little bit of that silver spoon and forget what it took for your parents to get there. And that, I'll tell you, like, we're not no Trumps. But Michaela, we're definitely like thinking about how to make sure that she sees all the sides of what we do. And it's not just, hey, you woke up and went to this private school, because that's something that you have to be cognizant of, because you want to provide everything that you can for your kids and give them, you want to give them the best as parents. But at the same time, you have to balance that. And that's why we also try to make sure that we diversify who she's with outside of just who she's with at school as much as we can. It's hard. Parenting is hard. Do you hear me? It is super
We'll
hard.
go ahead and have 12 more and just, learn as we go.
That I shall not.
Part of why I bring this up is because there is a big push in the Black manosphere and other parts of YouTube saying it's so hard. People think I'm an educated lame or whatever these terms are. And really all it is you are a Black man or woman rising up, looking for people beside you, and sometimes, unless you're in Atlanta, elbows deep, or you're in DC or certain places,
right?
You don't see people every single day. They're there. Let's not get it twisted. There's plenty of Black people who are doing well. You just aren't like walking in a bar and all 100 people in the bar are Black people who are middle class.
Right. And you have bias goggles on yourself, right? So you might walk past someone that really is, but you just don't know because you might not, you don't automatically think that sometimes if you have your own self-biases.
Oh, for sure. And then, so there's two more things I would say. Accounting, teaching people math. When I grew up, every Sunday, my mom had a green book. It was literally an accountant book where she wrote out her bills and what got paid and made a little note. And I actually got to pay attention. I'd be like,
that's really cool.
What's that? And she just made it a big deal because she just would say, okay, Erica, I only make this much. You guys aren't going to get A, B, and C. I only make this much. And me and my sister got it. My brother didn't. He'd always be like, I want these particular shoes. And my mom would be like, we cannot afford these things, right? And so that was a big part of it. Talking about money, how much money is being spent, how much these things cost. It's vital, right? And number two, the other part of what I was going to say, I think I forgot it that fast.
That's because I keep interrupting.
No. Starter homes. Yeah. Nobody wants a starter home. And I'll give you a prime example. When I go back to my hometown and I talk to people and I go, hey, are you gonna buy this? Are you gonna buy that? Oh no, I don't want to live over there. I want to live over there. But your money ain't there yet. So now you have a lot of African Americans who are buying homes at 35, 38, 40, 50 years old. Okay, you're 50 years old with a 30-year-old mortgage.
Right.
So do you see the math here? And Charles Ogilvie needs Jesus. He said,
I can't see the comments, and I love seeing the comments.
He said light-skinned wives don't want no starter homes.
Don't start with me, Sir Charles. I'm going to get you on Twitter.
But that's just the truth. Nobody wants to do the start. Okay, so this is the prime example. I know a woman, when I worked at H&R Block, 3 years in a row she came in. Single, she got divorced from a military dude. But she was a single mom, and she was transitioning to be a real estate agent. She bought this little dumpy home off Foxfire. If anybody's from Fayetteville, you know what I'm talking about. Foxfire neighborhood, $35,000. She cleaned it up a little bit. Next year, coming in, doing her H&R Block, she moved to across the town to the better neighborhood. 1 year, y'all. 1 year, because she got that real estate on. But she took her huge check she got, because the first year she got $8,000, because she'd been unemployed a little bit of part of the year. And then the next year, was it like $6,000? It was still big. It was still a big check. Took it, moved across town to the 70K-ish home near Jack Bray High School. And then third year, which is the last year I ever saw H&R Block, but I actually know the tax person she works with now. Literally, she moved to a $125,000 house. Now, nobody really wants to push that hard in a 3-year window, but she had 3 boys, and all she kept saying is, I cannot keep them over at Westover High School. That's a no. So then when she moved over town, she's like, they're changing the district, and they're going to go to this other school that's raggedy in Fayetteville. I ain't going to say his name because people are going to be at me. But then finally got the Jack Britt, which was the school I graduated from. Mm-hmm. And you got to realize that people don't even want to push that hard, right? They don't want to push whatever that may be, less eating out, less dinners, less just the math. It's the math.
It is. It's simple math. And like, that's why I'm always saying when people are like, well, what should I do? I want to get my first investment property. I'm only a few years, mid-20s, whatever it is. Like, you should house hack, period. Like, get uncomfortable. You'll be fine for a little bit. Get and do that. Buy a multi, live in one of the units. It might not be in the neighborhood that you always dreamed of. It might not, you might not want to live next to your tenant, stuff like that. There's ways around that piece. But at the end of the day, like, you have to be willing to sacrifice something to be able to get to where you want to go long term. Like, if it was supposed to be easy, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation because everybody would have it, right? You have to be willing to sacrifice something.
Yeah. And so people are like, oh, Erica, your answer to everything is hard work. You make me sick. I mean, like, but that is the answer. By the time
they'd be mad at you if you told them it was easy, you didn't have to do anything, and everyone failed. So, whatever.
well, even if you look at, I'll put it this way, be careful. But when it comes to dating and marriages, people be like, well, I don't want all this argument and drama. You're looking at your parents who've been married for 20, almost 30 daggone years in a big old house, and after they worked out all the kinks of whatever. Your first time marriage, your year one, and your year one house is not going to look like your parents' 30-year house. And that's a big problem I think we have in America on both sides. Do you know what I mean? They want
there's a conversation here that I would go all the way deep into, and so I'm trying to trying to bring
it for another show.
Yeah, it's another show.
Again, I'm here in Austin, Texas, and again, that's why we have to say marriage is somewhat of a business, because I go to church and it's a ton of high income earners there, and a lot of their wives stay home. And these ain't dumb women; these are educated ladies. Okay, and so. I don't want to say what I want to say, but like the guy, this one guy got married to this girl, and he is a good looking guy, makes money, black dude. He married this black girl, and I feel like somebody kind of said, well, she ain't that hot. Why you marry her? He's like, I've been dating crazy chicks ever since I got to Austin. This is the least crazy one, right? And she owns her own business. She does consulting, and they got married. Now, what's funny about this story, I've heard this similar story from like 7 other dudes who they got a friend that makes good money, and all of a sudden he finally married somebody who wasn't smoking hot. She was the reasonable person. Mm-hmm. Because marriage is a business. It is who you tie yourself to is so important. I can tell you right now, I'm watching certain people's marriages, and I'm like, you tied yourself to somebody that's not going to let you grow too far. Right. Like, they want to be right here. Right here. You want to go over there? They're like, no, right here. And so that's where you just gotta roll with it, because that's where you're gonna be. But it's just, try to stop dating bad bees.
There's plenty of them out there doing really great things, and will be a great partner for someone.
For sure. Some other bad bee, together, they're bad beeness.
I have 2 bad bees.
Well, and so the funny thing about it is being comfortable. So a lot of people, when I ask them, hey, what do you want to do financially? What's your money looking like? Oh, I just want to be comfortable. Or they're looking down. I know a man right now who, to me, I think is more talented and should be doing more. And he's like, well, I'm doing better than my brothers and sisters. I'm doing better than this people. And I'm like, we're comparing ourselves to such a low level that we don't get in our lane and say, what could I be doing and reaching up? Right. And so that's why we fall off. Because one bad accident, you fall off. I know people right now who parents made one bad choice from 2008. Their life ain't been the same ever since.
Yep.
I know people who've had to take a lifestyle adjustment, and it's important. And so I think in the Black community, what we're seeing is when I bring up this tutoring issue, they show this everywhere. 3rd and 4th grade, if your kids cannot read and comprehend, reading is the gateway to everything. It's the gateway to math, it's the gateway to sciences, it's the gateway to all this stuff. So if your son struggles through all these years and you didn't get any kind of tutoring, right, and I ask you why we don't have the money, there's something wrong there. You're not middle class.
Right.
You don't have $100. You can't find a broke college student. You can't find nobody willing to tutor this kid. And that's why I put tutoring in the category, because every study is out there showing that around 3rd grade, these Hispanic people, especially here in Texas, they got whole syllabus full of Hispanic speaking people. Asians and white people, that 3rd, 4th grade, it started changing. So, I mean, it's just.
Michaela's reading pre-K, so I don't know.
Look at you. You need Jesus. Stop showing off program.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, Lord. Somebody going around in the comments. Moderators. Get that. Oh, Lord. Anyway, the key here is the whole access conversation. Now, I talk about volunteering. Okay, if your parents can't get you from the after-school sports, and they can't get you to tutoring, you ain't gonna really be able to do volunteering either. So when I volunteered, I told people I volunteered with United Way. And I did this one volunteering, and I tell this story a million times, I know. And I was at a volunteer event with 4 older white dudes. Didn't think anything of them. They had their kids with them. We're all about to have this food for the food bank. When we start talking, I'm in my East Carolina gear, college student. They're like, oh, well, come to find out, all 4 of them are vice presidents of the local banks. And this has always been their particular little volunteer section. They just moved me over there for that day, right? After I finished talking to them, they're like, hey, you can come on work at the bank. And I'm like, I don't think I'll be a good teller. No, you can be a loan officer. We'll go ahead and push it on through. Now, how much does a loan officer make? Anybody in the comments, how much does a loan officer make? Put it in the comments if you know. And I'm going to give you a 30-second wait on that. Ooh, Michael Ward said, we are hard on our girls and we make our boys soft and can't function. Woo. Y'all, I'm telling y'all. So, well, prime example, someone I'm going to bring on this topic, probably not today, but maybe in a week or two, is Financial Garden out of Detroit. I think it's so important that we hear her story because she grew up in Section 8, had 2 brothers. She done went to college, went in the office, said, what can I do to make money and get a career as soon as I leave college? Once she said that, they put her in, she became an accountant. She's on multiple real estate properties. She's on like property 3, and yet her siblings aren't doing the same. So there is some argument about people not really challenging their sons as hard as they challenge their daughters, but there is also some trying to the environment. You cannot live at Section 8. You cannot live in certain neighborhoods and say, well, my child will be fine. Okay, you're not putting your child in tutoring, after school programs. You have to fight uphill against those neighborhoods. And if you're not spending that money, you're not middle class. So, Cosmic Wisdom for 50K. Yeah, loan officer, basically 50, 60K. A lot of the black dudes in the fraternity I went to at college, all the black fraternity guys, they were up and down the East Coast working as loan officers at Wachovia, Wells Fargo before they merged. And everybody was like, man, how y'all get these really great jobs? The 60K coming right out of college. And a lot of them, it was access and networks, they was in their friend circle.
Everyone who works in the banking industry like that aren't tellers all got it through networking, through knowing someone.
It's vital. Detroit. But yeah, so so that's why I keep pushing every video. Kevin Samuels does a really great job. I wish I could bring him on for a talk on this, but he talks about a lot of men are like, oh, I just want to go home and chill out. He's like, it ain't that you just want to go home and chill out. You ain't got nowhere to go. So I'm always, look, Tasha, what you doing? Tasha, I want you to come on, girl. What you doing? Tasha at work, internet sneaking this show. Thank you, Tasha gave me $10 super chat. Yeah, that's my story. Yeah, Tasha. I mean, I'm just saying, Tasha's a prime example. You know. That's
Financial Garden.
Yeah, Financial Garden.
So Michaela loves her book. So just a cute little plug there. But but it's like those types of things too. Like do you read to your kids? Are you exposing them to all these different things? I think that goes right along with like, how are you setting them up to continue to do well or do better? And I just personally, I think her book is one of those really great resources to do that.
All right, everybody, cop it out. Get Financial Garden's book. My whole goal is I want people to have like a series. So Financial Garden, what do we need to throw in to get you a series of kids' books? Thank you, Cal Phillips, for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Andre Hatchett. He put no shade. Thank you, Andre Hatchett. Andre Hatchett's coming on y'all in a bit. Hold on. Let's see. Where's the other one? Oh my goodness. Where's the other one? I'm missing it. Thank you, Doug. Doug said, track, cough up some cash for Erica. As much info she shares with us, show some support. Somebody said networking is not only good for job opportunities, but it's also a good way to find clients for your business. Facts.
They don't say your network is your net worth for nothing. There's a lot that comes from that.
I keep telling people to write on a list of paper. It's from the book called The Power of Who. Get a sheet of paper, write 150 people you know. Most people will just write their family members on it because that's who they know. And so it's like, you're the average income of the people on that paper. You're the average network of the people on that paper. That's why when you start talking about changing, you get such big pushback from family because it's like, you're changing, you're leaving, you're doing something different.
Right.
It's important. And it's also that negative feedback loop. I went to go buy this house in Texas. My mom's like, well, this ain't that great. Honey, we're talking about $150,000 difference. I was like, the houses in North Carolina, you can get a bigger house for 150 grand, but to get the same house here, I'd have to spend $450,000.
Right.
No, don't live up to the expectations of your parents and family members. You have to get in where you fit in. And
all right, I have my comments again.
Oh no! Okay, Tasha's in the hospital, y'all. Let's send little prayers for Tasha. Tasha, lay it down, girl. Don't type too hard, girl.
Oh no! I hope you feel better.
Yeah, Detroit is like an ice storm out there. So many people think they're a part of the middle class, including me, until it's taken apart piece by piece. Wow. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. Glendon put these numbers up, and I actually agree with them, but you guys know me. I say 80,000, but 50,000 he says is low income, because once you take out taxes, you're really at 36. You're talking about $3,000 a month. Then
what's average rent cost?
Exactly. The average rent is $1,000 to $1,500. So then he says 100,000 is middle, 150,000 is high income, ultra income is 250,000. Now for the Charles Ogilvies of the world living in California, and for the New Yorkers who are like 100,000, that's poverty, right? Like again, we're adjusting for the national average, but you have to you got to pay attention to these numbers, because when I talk to people, they go, well, I'm doing all right. Well, what's all right?
Right.
Grant Cardone has this thing he says, if you don't have $50,000 in the bank at various savings, and Matt Marino says this too. He has a book called You Need More Money. If you don't have $50,000 at any given time, if you get a car accident, the car go down, your leg go down, you can't work, like some people get taken out. That's why when everybody says, oh, my parents went bankrupt because of medical debt. No, your parents didn't go bankrupt because of medical debt. They went bankrupt because they didn't have any money.
Well,
and I keep trying to tell people, not enough insurance, not enough money. Everybody knows my story. I had like an emergency appendix taken out. It was $42,000. Lucky for me, I went to a Catholic hospital, and they had a certain number of like waivers. And they're like, well, because you came in the middle of the night about to fall out, we're going to waive you. You fall. There's a lot of different waivers. They do hard economic hardship, emergency things that are, because the average cost of an appendix would probably be 20. But because I came in the middle of the night, they drugged me up because they were like, well, we ain't got no doctors here. It's 2 a.m. We ain't got no doctors can do that surgery. She drugged me up, woke up in the morning, signed a bunch of paperwork. They're like, we're going to give you a break. So, but that's the thing. It's like, okay, when you tell me you can't afford insurance, because sometimes insurance is $400, $500 for some people a month, you can't afford tutoring, you're not middle class. And this is the problem. We have people saying, well, I've got a degree. Or even, let's even flip it. There's a lot of blue collar guys saying, well, how come women with degrees aren't dating me? I make $80K a year. And as a man, yes, you are making $80K a year. You are up there. But is there any upward mobility in that?
Right.
Are you planning on owning your own plumbing company, owning your own electrician, owning your own trucking, owning several trucks? Is there more to your upward mobility? And that's where people get angry, because they're like, oh. But the book, Eugene Robinson's Disintegration of Black America, is spot on. Have you read that book at all?
I have not. So it might actually be on our bookshelf.
Maybe send it to you. I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay. Yeah, please do. Thank you.
It's a good one. So give me some feedback now that you can see some of these comments, because I know you're on the computer looking.
I'm reading this one. I think Ty Green, she said she grew up thinking she was middle class and realized there's only 2 classes, the wealthy and the working class. That's not necessarily wrong. Like, that's actually a really good point. It is. Like, and I think that's where kind of we're going as a society is there's the haves and there's the don't have that much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really not much in between.
I would challenge you guys to buy that book, because I'm not challenging. I agree a little bit on that, but I would say there's a group called the Abandoned Class in the book. This is for Black Americans. It's called Abandoned. First class was abandoned. Now, it used to be in the 80s, you could go work at a factory, you could just leave high school and get a job. If you guys don't know about New York, 1960s, 1970s, you literally could get a plumbing, electrician, all this stuff right out of high school. And you could leave high school in New York with a plumber's little certificate, like you were ready to go work in New York. But so that class now, they call it abandoned. Why? Because they're stuck in like $10 to $12 jobs or medium wage, and they can't do what? Go up. And this is what I call it's the press of like low expectations, the bigotry of low expectations, but it's also oh, if I can't afford to go to community college because I can't afford it. Well, why don't you get a Pell Grant? Oh, I have a misdemeanor or felony, so I can't get the Pell Grant. So it's like, and then we tell them, hey, there's payment plans that, well, I can't afford that. Right. So they get trapped in what we would call the abandoned class. Okay, so then you have middle class, which is most in the book. They call it the mainstream, which is most African Americans, because 53% of all Black people live in rural areas and in suburbs. They don't live in cities as much as people think they do. Yeah. So then you have that group. Well, then you have the transcendent, which this is controversial, so you read it on your own. The transcendent class are business owners, are Black business owners. And the transcendent class is also mixed African Americans. Now, hear me out before people are like, oh, here she go. Read that book and see what it's talking about. Because if you look on YouTube right now, even the girl I follow and love on Instagram, I show you her all the time, there's a group of Black women who have white moms and Black dads. And they are the predominant YouTubers, right? The curly hair movement, the curly hair sponsorships are like kind of all one of those girls. Now flip it on the other side in the transcendent class.
I like your curly hair. You need to get some sponsorships.
I'm telling you, right? If I just do the whole channel on hair, I'll make a ton of money. There's a second part of transcendent class. It's Africans. It's Black immigrants. The Haitians and the Africans, they come here, they start businesses. Again, I told you guys, when I did an inventory on who comes on my show, 9 out of the 12 people I brought on the show were either Jamaican, Andre Hatchett, or they were some type of islander. They were some type of Nigerian, Money Madu. All these people they're still Black. They're just in the diaspora or wherever you guys call it. And in the book, those people are transcendent because they go to school with us. They go to college with us, but the programming is different. They're coming here to win. They're coming here to start businesses, multiple businesses, and buy property. Why? Because they don't have that baggage of, well, I'm doing better than my cousin Sally, who's on Section 8. No, they come, and their comparison is Nigeria. Their comparison is, I come to America to win. America is the land of milk and honey. Now, what they call it has abandoned class, mainstream, transcendent, and then like the top class. You guys can look that up. Yeah. They put in this class the Oprahs, the you know what I mean, the basketball players, the football players, because what happens is they get up there, and yeah, they can fall down. Mm-hmm. But 9 times out of 10, if you're smart and you're in that kind of class up there with Oprah and them, you have lateral moves, right? So prime example where somebody failed at this is Dame Dash. Now, Dame Dash has a bad attitude. He has the concept. He's been up at the mountaintop, but because he won't work well with people, he can't move laterally, right?
And that's the network part, right? What's your network to try to help you maintain that net worth? Yeah. I can dig it. I have mixed feelings about Dame Dash, but that's a whole nother show too. I'm trying not to go on my rant. You know, I go down the road and.
What is your problem with Dame Dash? He's just speaking truth.
I don't have a problem with Dame Dash. I think Dame Dash is dope. I think the way he presents himself makes him look like maybe he doesn't have what he might have.
I think he never learned to transcend, right? Like he got there by brash, bull tactics, but never transcend, right? Like if you see like Damon, whatever the dude made FUBU and stuff like that, if you see him, he's at one. He started, Damon John, he's transcendent. You know, he's much more laid back. Even if you watch some of the Breakfast Club interviews of Stephen, there's a guy called Stephen Stout. That guy is even like, he worked with rappers, and then he worked with musicians, and then he just keeps transitioning. And this is a point of what I'm talking about. Lack of kind of growth, right? Because you're the big man. Dame Dash is the big man in the hood, but he can't seem to transcend that, get past that.
Right.
And he's just stuck there. And I think that's where you get a lot of lone wolves. That's what I was telling me and Tasha was talking about being up here and realizing, looking to your left and your right, and you're somewhat alone, right? In that, and I've even had to personally date in other cities to meet equal level. I was going to Houston,
Let me find out Erica got hoes in different area codes.
I'm not even going to go there. But the point is to meet eligible men who are of similar character, similar thought products. You have to go sometimes outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And somebody said he has no soft skills. Example.
Yeah.
Steve Stout, yes. He has no soft skills. So, okay, I know you have to run because you have to actually put together some chicken dinners for your daughter or something like that. But I'm supposed to be bringing on.
My husband picked me out on another date. We went out last night. We're going out again tonight. He's I don't know what he's trying to do.
But I'm supposed to be bringing on. Somebody said, I love Charm City Buyers. Yesterday, I watched your husband talk about opportunity zones, and now I'm doing all the results. And Andre had to say Dame Dash didn't reinvent himself. That I could agree with that.
Yeah, like the lack of adjustment. I can definitely get down with that. And yes, Khalil, my husband's dope. Opportunity zones are dope.
The name of the book I'm talking about is The Disintegration of Black America by Eugene Robertson. Again, it's the abandonment class, the mainstream, and that's where a lot of us get trapped. We're like, well, we're doing pretty good. We got a house, we're okay. And then you have the transcendent class. And I see this. Like right now, I'm not going to say any names because I don't want any YouTube beefs, but there's a several block of YouTubers. They're all Nigerian. And they be speaking on Black issues. And I'd be like, ugh. I'd be like, to some degree, I feel like that's what people don't care. They're like, this is cool. And one girl she has a gossip show and she's just gossiping. And it's almost like she's making fun of American Black people, right? And I kind of am like, are we okay with that? Because they are, but they aren't. And so they're cashing in the biggest on this YouTube thing. You got these girls who have white mom, black dad trying to figure out their hair. So then they went to YouTube and now they're making tons of money off of it. And they're getting all the sponsorships. And then you have on the other side, Africans who are clearly buying up corner stores and buying up real estate in Houston and going on about their life.
Right.
So, and I've invited several people on the show today, and I am upset with them. You know who I wanted to talk to about this?
Not enough for you, Erica?
No, I was going to bring them on. Was cousin Nita?
Oh,
remember she went to private school.
She has a great perspective on kids too.
I was like, cousin Nita, what happened? You don't want to come on and talk about it? No. She probably like, I ain't got time for Erica's foolishness. but this is some of the things. Anybody have any questions or comments as I wait on some of the people I sent the charts out to say anything? Charm City Buyers couples goals. I don't know, y'all. I met Khalil. He I don't know. He be eating pickles.
Cool. I mean, I think what we've done well is understand there's two sides to what we're trying to accomplish. And it's really dope that we like each other. And it's also really dope that we can do dope stuff together from a business perspective. Marriage is you sign a contract for marriage just like you do when you're starting a partnership in business. It's a partnership in life.
For sure. I mean, look, I'm telling y'all, she's speaking on it. Y'all better hear this. The problem is,
telling you that's another show. Maybe that's a show we'll do on our channel. We'll invite you on our channel.
Oh, well, I tried to get Charles Ogilvie to do a show about why men need marriage. Charles Ogilvie and a couple of the other married dudes to come on and talk about it. And everybody was game.
I would be on there too. Or no, maybe I guess you could be cool. Yeah, I know. I guess Chloe could do it.
You in the background like.
Right, and I would.
I know you would. But yeah, so again, I sent out invites, and I guess Andre and Nita don't want to come on my show, but that's okay. But I just did that because I wanted to make sure we got all the perspectives, because somebody's going to come by later and be like, well, Erica, this, or Erica, y'all missed this particular topic. So definitely, if you guys have any questions right now, this is the time to give your spill on it.
That's funny.
And you typing so hard. Why are you typing so hard? I know, y'all hear that? I was like, where is she going? Okay.
Sorry.
So again, my list on definition of middle class is income, education, upward mobility, access to wealth, and my particular 3 I add on to it is neighborhoods, after school participation, and tutoring. Do you watch the show, Issa Rae show?
I haven't watched it since the last season, I think.
Okay. So my whole thing is that show is the prime example of that and multiple layers of it. Like if you see Amanda Seals, the light skinned curly haired
Yep.
girl who's married and really is upper class black, and then everybody else in the show is like this working wedge educated, but like in that, like they didn't realize they were on the out till they went to her party, her baby shower or whatever. Did you see
Right.
that show?
Yeah, I did.
And so at the baby shower, everybody is like, what, light bright, you know, and hanging out like, we got lots of money, right? And I said, that show, whether we want to acknowledge or not, that one, I don't watch the show, but I watched that one bit. I was like, this is spot on.
Yeah.
Like, even here, yes, I'm talking about Insecure. Even here in Austin, where I'm with several white people, I had this one girl, I had to check her because she's like, you're not like other, you're not like other black people. And I'm like, what? Excuse me, what?
What does that exactly mean?
What does that mean? Right? You have to correct people. So, oh, I see somebody. Yeah. But you have to correct people because their assumption, because we promote it so hard, is everybody's struggling, everybody's in the poverty. And there's this like absence of normal, So anyway.
Absolutely.
I've had you on the show long enough. I've dragged out your whole day. You went and picked up your daughter. You went and cooked chicken in the background. We didn't know about it.
Why do I gotta cook chicken, Erica? We don't eat chicken in this house.
Or watermelon.
Or watermelon. Disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Michaela's in the background. You hear, I like watermelon.
Well, look, guys, I just had to do this show. This is a part of a series I'm doing on class in the African American community and why do Black middle class kids fall into poverty. And for my list, I'm going to say lack of tutoring, lack of networking, and lack of the same thing that got their parents there. And I'll let you wrap it up with your.
Yeah, mine is a lack of access. Or what I say? Oh no, that's what middle class is. You know what? I just think that world's different. You gotta chart new paths, and we have to make sure we're teaching our kids how to chart new paths.
All right, everybody. This is Erica from the Classy Climb blog. Tell them where they can find you, Charm City Buyers, all over the internet.
All over the internet, we are Charm City Buyers. So Charm City Buyers on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I don't know. One of these days, maybe on the YouTubes, we'll have more than one video out there. All right, everybody. So this is Eric off the Classy Climb blog. This is just part one. Hopefully when Tasha and others and Charles Ogilvie get on, I'll definitely bring them on to get their perspectives on being Black middle class in America. So, all right, everybody. This is Erica from the Classy Climb blog. Later, Gators.